In the Weekdays with Bernie segment tonight, Donald Trump and the press. After his 9-stop thank you tour across America, the president-elect may be set to host more big rallies once he takes office.
This is the last time I'll be speaking at a rally for maybe a while, you know? They're saying, as president, he shouldn't be doing rallies, but I think we should, right? Yeah. We've done everything else the opposite. Well, no, this is the way you get an honest word out, because you can't give it to them because they're so dishonest.
The rally strategy let him bypass the media, but will it pay off after he assumes the presidency? Joining us now with reaction from Miami, Bernie Goldberg, the purveyor of BernardGoldberg.com. So, Bernie, he says they're dishonest, and he's going to go around them, not only with the tweets, but by holding these rallies. Is that a successful media strategy?
Not in the long run. Look, can he go to rallies and avoid news conferences? Yeah, he can. There's no law that says he has to have a news conference. It's not a good idea. At rallies, his adoring fans hang on every word. They don't challenge him. There is no room for questions at rallies. So he can. But in a free country like ours, we need a strong mainstream media to hold powerful people like Donald Trump accountable.
Yeah, but if they distort, if they go after him to the point where he feels that his message is not being fairly communicated, he's got to look for alternatives.
Well, it's not a good idea in the long run. Here's the thing. Donald Trump thinks that the press is dishonest, and to some extent he's right. And the press thinks Donald Trump, many in the press think Donald Trump is unfit to be president of the United States. This is not a healthy relationship. Both sides need to do have a little introspection. The press needs to understand that millions and millions of Americans thought they cheated in this last election, that they were rooting for Hillary Clinton. I'm one of them, by the way, and that they were rooting for Barack Obama before that. They can't dismiss this kind of criticism. They have to come to grips with it and do something about it. Donald Trump, on the other hand, has to look inward also. He has to say, if I speak to reporters, yes, they're going to be more critical of me and challenge me in a way that my fans at rallies don't. But I have to defend my policies and positions and the things I say. If he can do that, no problem. If he can't, there'll be a problem. And if the press is dishonest, as they have been in some cases during the campaign, they will continue to lose credibility and trust of the American people.
Let me come to you with a scenario, though, because I'm interested to hear what you think. You know that Barack Obama's administration went after the press for leaks more aggressively than any recent administration. This was coming from the liberal Democrat Barack Obama. What happens if the press goes after Donald Trump, some of the conflicts of interest potentially hidden inside of all his business dealings? Does he then go after the press, and does it become a clash of power centers that does not serve the American people?
Yes, it does not serve the American people. Donald Trump is notoriously thin-skinned. Even if you're one of the people in the audience tonight who love Donald Trump, and that's fine with me, you have to acknowledge he's thin-skinned. So if the press goes after him unfairly, I am on Donald Trump's side and I am against the press. But when they go after him for legitimate things and Donald Trump is thin-skinned and says they're just out to get me, he's wrong. And it's not good for Donald Trump as president. It's not good even for his most ardent supporters, and it's not good for the American people in general. We need a strong mainstream media to ask those tough questions. They need to be fair. And too often, they're fair to people they like and unfair to people they don't like. That has to stop.
I agree with you.
But he can't just go to rallies. He has to speak.
So you want him to go out
for his own good.
So let me come now. Let me connect the dots on this, Bernie. I read a column by you, just spectacular. It was in connection with a column done by the public editor at the New York Times, Liz Spade.
Right.
Spade said, in fact, there's a lack of racial diversity at the liberal bastion New York Times. Even when covering the sports department, she says, no African Americans, few people of any kind, any race but white. And yet the New York Times holds every other major institution in the country accountable in terms of lack of diversity. So I read Bernie Goldberg, and Bernie Goldberg said, what about ideological diversity? What about a conservative point of view at the New York Times. Where's the diversity on that? So, Bernie, where is it?
Well, it's not in the New York Times newsroom by and large, and it's not in most American newsrooms. Listen, I think skin-deep diversity is important because there's a better chance that you, Juan Williams, will understand stories involving black culture and have more access to black communities than I would. I understand that. That's fine with me. But in the news business, an even more important kind of diversity is ideological diversity, diversity of opinion. So I've come up with a solution. This is great, okay? You'll love this.
Okay.
An affirmative action program for the smallest minority in America's newsrooms, conservative journalists. So we have an affirmative action for conservative journalists, but not any conservative journalists. The New York Times should go out and find Asian conservative journalists, black conservative journalists, Hispanic conservative journalists, and then we kill two birds, so to speak, with one stone. We have more diversity of the skin-deep kind and more ideological diversity.
But you know, Bernie, but I think you pointed out that if you get more racial diversity, you're likely to get more liberal columnists.
That's right, because generally speaking, minorities are more liberal than
but I like
people.
your idea, Bernie, although I think you've been hitting the eggnog hard if you think it's going to happen anytime soon. Bernie,
I don't.
Thank you, Bernie.